Coach, if you want to open us up with just a quick statement.
Well, we're excited. That's the word that's on my lips all week this week. We're excited. We're excited to get started. We're excited to see what we can become. We have had a really good camp. We've had a really healthy camp. We've got a lot of pieces in the gym, and I'm looking forward to see the journey that these kids go on. Our talent level's good, our depth is good, and we have all the pieces to have a pretty special season. And so it's time to go out and see where we are and start getting better.
How was the scrimmage against UK?
Well, a learning experience. When we scrimmaged Kentucky, now again, that's the first exhibition we've ever been allowed to have in college volleyball, and I think we approached it a little differently than they did. Winning really wasn't, what quantified that one for me. We actually did 2-a-days on Monday and 2-a-days on Tuesday and waited till Wednesday morning and drove straight up there and played. And so we were far from fresh, and we used our whole roster and played a fantastic Kentucky team. I think they're going to be a top 10 team this year based on what I've seen. And so we were a little gassed going in, but I wanted to see what we would do in that situation. And to be honest, didn't love everything we did. But that's the purpose of an exhibition.
For the players, how important is it when you're in this program to take what you do one season and then put it in the rearview mirror and try to focus on building on that legacy rather than focusing on what you guys have done in the past?
Somebody grab it and go.
Well, we know going in that we're always going to have a target on our back, but it's a new year every year, so we're going to have new people coming in, but this year we have a lot of depth, and I think the word that I use is eager. I'm eager to see what we can do this year. The sky's the limit with this team. So.
City? I don't know. First of all, it's a two-part question. First year that you're in school, you play volleyball. Just doesn't matter, look great. And is the feeling the same now compared to then when you're leading up to your first match of the season? Just that anticipation and that antsiness, for lack of a better phrase.
Yeah, if anything, I feel like I have more antsiness, as you called it, now than I did before. Like whenever I started playing, I just kind of did it like it was a sport that I finally got into because I wasn't always into sports. And so I did enjoy volleyball, but now I enjoy it way more than I've ever enjoyed it in my life. And it's partially due to Travis and how much he excites me to play, and my team, they just make me want to get better all the time, and I want to provide for them and do the best that I can for them.
Travis, what are some of the biggest differences between last year's roster and some of the pieces you lost and what you're bringing this year?
Well, depth is the thing we keep talking about. Last year was a pretty special year, winning 30 matches and, doing all that we accomplished. But we truly were held together, by a thread last year. Our depth wasn't good. One injury would have really made us look very, very different a year ago. And we had 2 or 3 kids playing through injuries. And so we were really just trying to hold it together, and this year is way different in terms of depth. Not only do we have some talented newcomers, but I think the thing that pleases me the most is, I was just watching film. We opened with Southern Illinois, and that's a team we played last year, and I was just watching film of when we played them last year, and the kids that are returning in our program are better players than they were, and I mean across the board, not just kids that didn't play who are giving themselves a chance to play now, but including the kids that are up here. Rachel Anderson's a better volleyball player than she was a year ago, and Sydney Engle and Alyssa, and these kids are better volleyball players than they were a year ago, and that's what I think excites me. And so who knows what the journey holds, but to this point, we've got a group that I think is confident, and we have a group that I think is confident in each other, and I think those are 2 really important things.
Your turn, Rachel. Rachel, I think you were one of the players at this time last year, as the season went on. We were watching, and we were like, wow, Rachel's really coming on, and every teammate said, we knew that was coming, so forth. Is there a player on this team that you think can be what you did last year that we don't talk a lot about right now, but by midseason we're going, she's pretty doggone good?
I think our freshman KJ has made so much progress in just the little time that she's been here, and throughout this season she'll continue to learn, and then when spring hits is when we focus on individual players and their growth. And I think this year she's going to do great, and then come next year she's going to be that next light and person that we're going to be looking for to give her the ball and stuff. So
Alyssa, this is for you. I think this has gone on 5 minutes. This is a compliment to your teammate. We haven't even mentioned Jessica Lucas. I mean, does that say about the potential of this team, and also the fact that, in a good way, Jessica's greatness is just a given?
I mean, Jess is always consistent, so sometimes it doesn't come to light every time because she's just a consistent player, so that's what you expect out of someone who's consistent all the time. So.
And Mike, she truly is the quarterback of our team, and Jess is a unique kid. Jess is a kid that is talented and skilled and great in her own right, but she's a kid that takes pride in helping everybody around her be great. And that's what's really elevated our program over the last 2 or 3 years is there's greatness individually. There's God-given greatness. There's, great individual skill, but she's a unique kid in that she brings greatness to our whole gym every day. She makes kids better. She cares about everybody in that gym. She works hard. She sets an example. And there's a lot of reasons why she makes us better other than just her skill level.
Coach, just as much experience as you're returning, 100% of your offensive production, plus Jessica coming back, just being able to watch these girls grow over the years and having all that production they had, does that kind of help take a little bit of pressure off your shoulders as a coach?
Well, it's just been fun. It's fun as these kids are sitting here answering questions, and I look down through here at juniors and seniors, and I think about what they were as freshmen. And I think the thing that has defined our program through the years is kids get better. And they get better because we recruit the right kind of kids, and they get better because of what Sydney said. There's a culture in our program of wanting to be good for the person beside you. And, when you think about what these kids were when they walked in the door and the kind of players, they're 3 of the best players in college volleyball now. And I don't think any of the 3 of them would have claimed that the day they walked in the door. And, but it's a testament to how hard they work every day, how coachable they are. How much they're willing to work, year round. These kids, when I say we're better than we were a year ago, it's because in January, February, March, when volleyball's the last thing on everybody's mind, these kids are in the gym getting better, and so I'm excited to see them put it out on the court.
Travis, I know what the answer is going to be, but I'll ask about Alyssa. As great as she is, can she be better?
Oh, I don't think there's any question, but the things that Alyssa can do better may not be evident on the stat sheet. The numbers she put up offensively last year were historic, and I don't mean historic for WKU volleyball. I mean historic in NCAA volleyball. To take 1,000 swings, for kids that took 1,000 swings last year on the season, she had the highest hitting percentage in the country. And, she's going to continue to do those things for us, but it's little things, it's leadership, it's blocking, it's serving, it's all these other little things that she can do. But the thing that impresses me the most, and I just shared this with her yesterday, I think, is the thing that impresses me the most about Alyssa Cavanaugh is she shows up to play every day. I can't remember a time in the last few years, once we got her out of that freshman year, I can't remember a time in the last 2 years where Alyssa Cavanaugh was a no-show. When the lights turn on, that kid's ready to play, and she's got the heart of a lion. And I can't tell you how comforting that is for a coach to show up knowing what you're going to get out of a kid. And that's the thing that I'll miss about her the most when she's gone, is just what you get when she comes in on game day.
Travis, your opening weekend, do you even scout your opponents, or are you familiar with them, or do you just sit there and say, let's just focus on the ladies.
Well, it's a good question. A little bit. It's way more about us in these opening few weekends. But we'll get a little information. You're going a little bit blind on your first match. That's why I'm watching last year's film a little bit. But early in the year, it's far more about us executing. We chart earned and unearned points, every play, and it's far more about us doing the things that we know what we need to do. It's not going to be so much about a scouting report or anything else. And we're going to be put to the test, Mike, over and over and over for this first month. Again, this is a talented group. They deserve the chance to be able to make their case for an at-large bid. Again, in the NCAA tournament, we haven't needed it in the last 3 years, but we've been in a position to get it. And this year's schedule is no different. I was just looking at our schedule, and I think 11 out of our first 14 opponents are all in the top 100 in college volleyball in last year's RPI. And so it is going to be a challenge every time we go to the floor. But by the same token, we feel like every time we step on the floor, we'll have a chance to win. And so with a schedule like that, as I've discussed with them, we don't have to win them all. When you build a schedule like this, you don't plan on winning them all. But there's no match in here that's going to hurt us if it goes the other way, as long as we get back on track and do the things we need to do. But it's going to be quite relentless for these first 3 or 4 weeks. And, we're not going to shoot out of the gate 10-0 and because we're a talented team. That would have been a mistake on my part in scheduling to put together a schedule that would have allowed that, really, with the talent that we have.
Alyssa, how important is it to you guys for that defensive role that Georgia did so well last year and find some people back there to do that?
I think Emma has made a huge step up. She did a lot of work in the spring, and that's showing now in the fall. And we have 2 new freshmen coming in defensively, which will be great. I think that they're going to step up in that role as well. I'm not too worried about it. That's one of our weaknesses, but I'm not too worried about what we can do there.
Travis, how important is that with all the offense that you guys have, that you have some defensive style?
Well, it was big. I mean, we lost 2 kids that had played a lot of volleyball here in Georgia, and Kaylin, and, they both had such solid careers for us. And so, there's no doubt in my mind, coming in, that was my biggest concern, is how we were going to defend, how we were going to pass, because Kaylin and Georgia had done that for 4 years on the court for us. But that's probably, I would say, for the people in our locker room, that's been the thing that we've all been the most excited about through preseason, because we know what these kids can do. We know what they're capable of. And, you think you see it in recruiting, but you never know until, they get in the door and see what they do in your gym and how they respond to things. And, our kids, like they said, Emma Kołakowski's really taken a huge step forward this year. Darby Music and Hallie Shelton are both going to be factors for us in the back row. Sydney has stepped up as a ball control player too. And Mary Martin is a kid on our roster that has come light years in a year's time. And so we have great depth. We have better depth, ball control and defensively, than we did a year ago. And I think that'll serve us well.
I got one starting with you, Rachel, and then Travis, if I could have you follow up on what Rachel says. We're here this summer. We talked about each of your respective experiences with national volleyball. And Rachel, to paraphrase what you said, I can't wait to apply what I learned with the Lady Tops and just in the practice sessions. Has that happened? Do you feel like it has really caused you to take a step forward in what you're doing on the practice floor? Travis, the part to you is, have you seen that from Rachel?
I think something that I've always struggled with is being a constant energy and talking. And I think I'm so far not doing as well as what I wish I would have, but that's something that I can always improve on, and something that I'm going to be focusing on more every day, every game. Just, if I'm not playing as well as I want to be, bringing energy and talking and building everyone else up around me is something that I'm going to be focusing on.
Yeah, and the thing that I see in Rachel from that experience is, and I may have said this before, is I think Rachel just sees herself a little differently than she did before. She maybe sees herself a little bit more like I've always seen her. I've always felt like she was a pretty special talent, and Rachel's about as unbecoming as there is and low ego as you can get as a player. But I don't think I think it's undeniable she's carrying herself a little bit different. She's carrying herself with a confidence, and the fact that she's starting to talk about getting outside herself and being more of a leader and do those kinds of things when she's still in the gym with a group of seniors, it would be very easy for her to continue to sit back and let that happen for another year. But I think she sees herself a little differently, and it's certainly in a manner that I want her to see herself. And I think it'll only make us better. I think it'll only make her better as well.
Guys, I'm asking you to brag on Alyssa and Rachel, obviously, but now it's Sydney. What does Sydney bring to this team that we don't get to see?
Well, I think Sydney Engle, I've said this in our locker room many times, and it needs to be said outside our locker room. I think Sydney Engle's the best volleyball player we have. We have, and again, that's with tremendous respect to the 3 All-Americans we have and some other kids in our locker room, but Sydney is you hear the term glue kid all the time. Sydney's a kid that just kind of holds it all together for us. She does everything. We play a game where players are specialized, where they play certain roles for us, and Sydney's a glue kid. She literally does everything on the volleyball court that we would need a player to do. She can block and set and play defense and serve and pass and hit, and she's just she's so solid in everything she does. It's almost like we talked about with Jess, that you almost forget about her sometimes because you've just come to expect her to be so reliable in what she does. And I'm challenging her now. I think Sydney's biggest fault is her greatest strength at the same time. You need glue kids that always put the team before them, but I want Sydney to put herself back out in front of them a little bit in terms of certain parts of her game. I don't want her to take a backseat to anybody as an offensive player. I think she's a super talented offensive player, but we have so much of it. Sydney kind of has a mindset of, looking around the gym, what do we need? Because I'll just kind of fill that role for us, and instead of what can I do? And I'm constantly pushing her to do everything that she's capable of doing, but she is as well-rounded a volleyball player as I've ever been in the gym with.
For the players, and you guys sit down and look at goals for the season, what are some of the main things that you all want to accomplish this year?
We sit down every year and we jot down, we have a whole session, and we jot down goals. And we always have our big outcome goals, and we always have process goals. So our process goals are, how are we gonna accomplish these outcome goals? So a lot of our outcome goals are at-large bid, like put yourself in a position for an at-large bid. We wanna be NCAA bound. We want to be, so our theme this year is good to great. So that's one of our things that we're trying to work on, is we're good. We know we're good, but we're going to take that step into being great. So just like the little things. And then we also go into individual goals, and a lot of our individual goals will help with accomplishing like the bigger goals. So.
And I think what will define us really in terms of goals this year is how we defend. I mean, we were second in the country last year in offense. We were the number 2 team, and we return all of it. So, will we be second again? I don't know, but we should be pretty doggone good on the offensive side of the ball. So, we've got a lot of emphasis in terms of our goals on being the best. People label themselves, well, we're a great offensive team or we're a great defensive team. Why can't we be both? Why can't we be both? Why can't we be the best offensive team and the best defensive team? Typically, when that doesn't occur, it's because people rely on the fact that they're a good offensive team, or they rely on the fact that they're a good defensive team. But those things are happening at different times, and we have everything in our gym necessary to be the best defensive team in our league as well, and that'll truly define us, because the talent is unquestioned offensively for our team. Defense has a lot more to do with guts and heart and determination and those kinds of things, and so that's the part that we got to pull out of each other and pull out of ourselves on a daily basis.
I apologize for putting the apple before the cart, Sydney, but you have a chance, and I guess this applies to Alyssa too, to win a conference championship every single season you've been here. I mean, that is unprecedented. Do you think about that, or if you do you sit there and go, wow, that's a heck of a carrot out there?
Yeah, it's like definitely something that we have on our mind. Like, we want to set new, like go above and beyond anything that's ever happened at Western, and that's one of the things that we can do. But at the same time, I don't think that that is our sole focus. Like, we're trying to do our other outcome goals, like she said, like put ourselves in a position for an at-large bid, go to the NCAA tournament and stuff like that. But I mean, it is something that's very exciting and very like eager that we want to do, and we have talked about it before, but I definitely think it's not our sole focus in this season.
Yeah, you hear her try to answer that, it makes me smile a little bit because, to be honest, it's probably not something she spent a lot of time thinking about. We can't let ourselves think in those terms. You don't set out to do the things that we've done in the last 3 years. You don't set out to do the things that we want to do this year. You try to be great every day, and you try to break it down into what it's going to take to get there. And, we've been so blessed. We've been to the NCAA tournament 6 of the last 7 years now, but it's never lost on me, which means it's never lost on them, how hard it is to get to the NCAA tournament at Western Kentucky in the sport of volleyball. This league has been a one-bid league. Now again, the last 3 years we would have gotten in as an at-large and made it a two-bid league, but it's not a two-bid league unless we're the one getting the at-large, and so there's no wiggle room in there for us, and we know that, and we know how hard it is. We know how hard it is to put ourselves in a position to get an at-large bid. We know how hard it is to win the conference tournament 3 games in 3 days, and so we can't allow ourselves to look at that big picture very often. It's about being ready today when we go to the gym. It's about being ready Friday when we play, and more importantly, it's about being ready when you do stub your toe and get beat to be able to wake up the next day and be ready again. And our kids have done a terrific job of that, and so we're just trying to get caught up in the process of what it takes to be great, and then just see what happens. We fully understand. We can do everything right and put ourselves in the right position and still catch a break that leaves us at home. That's possible in this league. We don't have the ability to put 5 teams in and have that wiggle room and that cushion, and so it's useless for us to think in those terms. I think we just need to focus on what we do every single day and try to be great today and try to push each other to be great today, and then look back on the things that have happened, not look forward to the things that could.
Any more questions? Thank you for coming.
Awesome. Thank you,
Thank you.
guys.
Thank you.